birthday, kids. What time is it?
Edson,
Hello.
today's Labor
What?
Day.
Yes. Yes.
You know what that means.
Today is Labor Day, which is that day that I really start getting excited about week one.
Yes, it's that time again where we pick our NFL picks and whatnot. And I have to quickly say, and I don't have it in front of me because it was embarrassing. Remember we did our little draft prediction show?
Oh, that was bad.
We got like the first one right, or two. Now,
I didn't realize it was that bad.
in our defense, almost every name we had we picked for a team to pick was picked, but just not for that team.
Right.
So we did have kind of and somewhere in the area they went. So we kind of had that part right, but we just had the players going all over the place the wrong way.
I mean, for us, it should be like how many you had in the first round, or
That's what
how many you had.
I think we were pretty much like 29 or 30 out of the 32.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good then.
Yeah. We just had them all on the wrong teams. Once they got to Trey Lance, poof, gone. The whole thing went south. We had Mac Jones going to the 49ers. So,
Yeah. Well, I was shocked that he actually fell to the Patriots. I mean, Belichick gets that rare luck again where he gets like which I'm guessing he's thinking that's going to be his next franchise guy.
he's the only coach / GM I've ever seen who can step in a pile of dog crap and benefit from it. You know what I mean? It's just like as soon as the 49ers took Trey Lance, you and I started texting like, holy crap, Belichick's going to get Mac Jones.
That was even
like we knew right next. There, right?
Yeah. We're like, I can't believe the Patriots are going to wind up with a freaking quarterback. Like, a good one. It was a done deal. To me, it was a done deal. It was like,
oh, yeah, because you could look at all the other teams. I mean, there was a possibility Chicago might take him. But right. We all, and then Chicago took Justin Fields, and it was like, then it was clinched that Mac Jones was going to 15th to the Patriots. I mean, how could you be in the middle of the first round and end up with a franchise quarterback?
Yeah.
Then again, my team did that, back in 2004. They picked Roethlisberger 11.
Yeah.
So
and
it can happen.
When you have Belichick pick Brady in the sixth round.
Sixth round.
We'll talk about falling in a.
But when you have a deep quarterback draft,
yeah.
Then you can get a good quarterback in the middle rounds. But I am actually shocked that he cut Cam Newton. That quickly.
I was shocked too, and then on further thinking, I'm like, you know what? I should have seen some of the signs. I mean, I don't think he was very happy with him. And I don't think he was happy with any part of last year.
No,
and Newton is just like the poster boy for last year. So I guess I'm not shocked.
Yeah, he doesn't fit the system.
Yeah,
like when you look at Mac Jones, you go, oh yeah, that's a prototypical Patriots quarterback, right? Like he's a kind of a pocket passer. He's a system guy, and Cam Newton was too freelance. He runs the RPOs, and plus his age, he's clearly breaking down. So
yeah,
it's a shame. You're going to see this with Lamar Jackson in the next 2 to 3 years, probably. Cam Newton wasn't around that long before he started to fall apart like that.
Yep, it was just a few years before that he was like MVP, I think.
Yeah, and Cam Newton's built like a truck. Lamar Jackson is not built like a truck.
Yeah.
So, he's a leaner guy. He's smaller. Once he starts getting hit, right now people can't catch him. Once they can catch up to him and start hitting him.
I was just going to say if he can keep avoiding getting hit for as long as possible, that'll just extend it. But yeah, you're right. As soon as he loses a step, they're gonna really get him.
Yeah, I can see that coming in the next 2, maybe 3 years. I think this year might be his last like pinnacle, peak year where he's at the top of his game. And even last year he started having some nagging injuries and things like that. He also had the COVID for a while, but
Yep.
we'll see. So that's what we're here to do today on season 2 of our NFL show. We're gonna make our horrible picks for 2021.
We should relook at this at week 9 and see how are we going with this.
Well, look, we did our mid-year report card show, and I think we should do that again.
We did.
But this time we'll have to also grade ourselves,
right?
Because last year we started covering the NFL. We didn't start GeekTime TV until like end of October.
Yeah, I know.
So we were well into the season when we started doing this. So I think it was like week 7 or 8, right?
Yep.
So, or maybe 6, I don't know. But
yeah, I would like to know how we'll do with even in a separate issue, how we'll do with picks for a whole season.
And we'd also like to know what you, audience, what you are picking this year, and be honest with it. Write it down or put it in the comments, because we're going to grade you too, audience. That's right.
Yeah, put it in the comments right away before the game starts.
Yeah.
No.
Or tweet them to us or Facebook it. Like we'll put down all of our, audience's picks as well, and we'll all compare notes and see how stupid we all are.
Yeah, we can't run away. We're putting it on record now.
So I'm wearing my visor here, my Chucky visor, because I figure we're kind of gambling a little bit here. So I had to have the gambling visor on. my Pro Football Hall of Fame. A lot of Steelers went in this year, 4 of them. You had Cowher, Polamalu, Donnie Shell.
Yeah,
and oh my God, I'm blanking on the 4th one. Oh, Alan Faneca.
Yeah, that was good.
It's funny, quick story. I've been to Steelers training camp a couple of times, and I've only gotten a couple player autographs in that time. One of them is Troy Polamalu, Hall of Famer. One of them is Alan Faneca, Hall of Famer. And the third one is Hines Ward, potential Hall of Famer. So I do okay when I go to camp.
Wow. Yeah. You got all 3. Wow. Yeah. Especially Polamalu. That's
the Polamalu story is kind of funny, actually, because I was on crutches at that camp. I had injured myself playing ball, so I was on crutches, and my girlfriend at the time was with me. And it started to, like, a bad storm rolled in, and they got everybody off the field, and they were rushing them inside. And, I'm kind of trying to get, to shelter on the crutches. And I was waiting for, a player autograph. I had a football and the Sharpie, and she said, give it to me. She took the ball and the Sharpie and whoosh, disappeared into the mob. And she came back and she goes, I could only get one signature, and it's from that new guy they just got, the Hawaiian guy with all the hair. And I said, oh, he's supposed to be good. They moved up to draft him.
Boy. Yeah, supposed to be.
Yeah, how do you like that, huh? So thank you, Yvonne, wherever you are, for that. Anyway, should we get into this?
All right.
Let's
get into the
Here we go.
pinnacle of stupidity.
Let's start in the NFC, the lesser conference right now. Isn't it funny how the conference domination flip-flops every 8 to 10 years?
Yeah, I remember the Cowboy 49er dominance when they were always in the championship.
In the 90s, there was like no AFC team.
Everybody called it the actual Super Bowl because they knew whoever won that one.
Totally, because, no matter who it was from the AFC, it was the Bills, the Steelers, the Chargers. There's just no way they were beating those teams. Yeah. Now it seems like the other way around.
Yeah, now it's the other way around.
Yeah. Although, last year Tampa Bay beat the Chiefs, the big.
Yeah, the NFC doesn't have like a lot of them, but the few that they have are very elite. Yes.
Exactly. So why don't we start in the NFC East? And I almost called it the least, but I think it's going to rebound this year.
Really? Like as a division?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So already I'm wrong. See, just by your reaction.
No, I just see so many question marks on there. I don't know.
All right. Well, why don't you go first?
So I think the Washington football team will be coming first.
Okay.
They have the best defense of all those teams, and their offense is pretty good as well. With that running game, I forgot who the running back. I mean, he was so great last year. The running game is great, and the offensive line is great too. Fitzpatrick, I'm not very keen on that. I'm not sure that they should have gone with him. I don't think he's going to last the whole year, but they're a solid team. I guess I'll go with the Cowboys, but I don't trust them at all. But Cowboys in second place. Now that Prescott's supposed to be completely healthy and Elliott's supposed to be better, and uh, their all their injuries on their offensive line should be there. Although already in the first game, Zach Martin, their best one, is out. So that's a loss, I think. Um, and then the Giants third. We saw how good their defense had become towards the end of last year, and hopefully Barkley will be in it the whole year, not get injured again. And I'm not sure why I'm so down on the Eagles. Um, their defense doesn't look good, and I'm still a little bit questionable about their new quarterback with the whole season. We only saw a little bit of him.
Okay.
And I only think Washington will make it out of that. Only the division leader will make it out of there in the playoffs. I don't think there's going to be more than one team out of there.
I'm pretty close to your thinking on the whole thing. I got Washington first. I think they are the most complete team.
Yep.
They're missing a quarterback, but I do think they'll make a trade or something at the trade deadline, or they'll pick up someone who got cut somewhere. I think they can possibly fix that. It sucks that Alex Smith retired. I think he retired 1 year too soon, because I think they're ready to make that next step.
Yep.
And if he was there, he'd almost ensure a playoff berth for them. But I think you're right. There's enough around them, and that defense is savage.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're only going to get better. I mean, you got Sweat and what's his face? My God, Chase Young, and oh my God, they're just going to be devastating. And they're fun to watch. They actually surprisingly went from one of the most boringest teams in the league to fun to watch. I'm a big defense and run guy, and they do those two things so well. So, I think they're the most complete team. Ron Rivera is a great coach. I think he's got the pulse of that team. The way they finished last year, I'm all aboard the Washington football team.
I was hoping they would give that kid Heineke a chance at some point, but I know he's young.
We know how many years have we watched Fitzpatrick? We know what's going to happen, right? He's going to win like 3 of the first 4, and then he's going to start throwing a million interceptions, and he's going to get benched, and Heineke's going to go in. Heineke seems like a dynamic player. I'd like to see him get a chance too.
I'd like to see him get a chance. Yep.
Yeah. Second and third, I wrestled with this one a lot too. And I went to strength of schedule, and the Cowboys have a way easier schedule. They have the 31st ranked schedule.
I didn't even realize that.
Versus the Giants' 25. Now, that's not a huge disparage.
Yeah.
So the Giants have they're playing opponents with a 474 winning percentage. The Cowboys are playing teams with 452 winning percentage. We know the Cowboys are going to score 1 billion points, and they're going to give up 1.5 billion points. I don't trust their defense at all. Even though it's supposed to be slightly better, I don't trust their defense at all. The Giants are, I think, really well coached. I think the difference here, when it comes down to it for me, is Daniel Jones versus Dak Prescott. And I think Dak Prescott will win a game or 2 more if he stays healthy. So I got Cowboys 2, Giants 3rd, maybe even tied. And it could be a head-to-head separating their standings. And then the Eagles last. The Eagles are in total rebuild, and they're a mess, and new coaching staff, and so Eagles 4th.
I mean, they do. I want to point out they do have some their offense. They do have some offensive weapons. They have was it Devonta Smith that they and they have the pair of tight ends, Goddard and Ertz.
Yeah,
but it's like if your offensive line can't keep your quarterback up, then.
And Jalen Hurts is unproven still. I mean, he looks good in spurts, but he hasn't played a full season yet. So, there's a lot riding. I think it's a kind of a rebuild for the Eagles. When they got rid of Peterson and brought somebody else in, it was kind of surrendering. It's white flag time. Get rid of Carson Wentz and kind of start over. So, I think they're going to have some bumps and bruises along the way for a while. So I'll start off the next division, the North. The North, kind of the same quandary, kind of the same thing. I've got the Packers winning it as long as they have Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones, and they're in Adams. They're still the best team, and they're coached well enough, I think, that they'll win between 11 and 13 games again, and then get beat in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
My conundrum comes between Minnesota and Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, the Vikings were shockingly bad last year. I know they made a little run to try to make a push for the playoffs, but they fell short. And the Bears have the same problem that Washington does, in my opinion. It's all there, but the quarterback. Sure. Now, Justin Fields looked awesome in the preseason. But
he did.
But if, according to everything I see up till today, unless you've seen something different, he's going with Andy Dalton.
I'm literally scratching.
Yeah, that's a head scratcher. I mean, they don't pass the eyeball test with that one. Sometimes these coaches overthink. They outthink themselves, and I don't think Matt Nagy's all that good of a coach anyway. So they have the third toughest schedule in the league, the Bears. But the Vikings have the fifth toughest schedule in the league. So, again, it's a wash. So I'm gonna say that Zimmer and the Vikings come in second, and I think the Bears drop down. Because even if they do go with Fields, he's a rook. And I think when the rubber hits the road, especially in the second half of the season, they got to play 17 games this year. He's a college kid that's not used to playing that long. With playoffs on the line, he's going to start to grip the ball a little tighter. There's going to be film on him in the second half of the year. So, in Dalton's a train crash. So, I'll go Bears third, and the Lions, who are already awful, now have Jared Goff, who just sucks. They're in last. So, that's my thought on the North.
Yeah, totally just want to reiterate everything you said about the Lions. We'll start with that. I'm not sure how they can. I know, as bad as they were, I'm not sure how they're getting any better with a downgrade in quarterback. And no upgrades. I didn't see any significant upgrades in any of the other areas. So I'm predicting they're going to be like the worst team in the NFL at this point. But
wow.
Yeah. Green Bay, definitely picking them to be first. They're bringing back everybody that they had last year with all their offensive weapons, and their defense it's decent and was getting better throughout last year. So I think they'll keep them in some games as well. Again, with the way Minnesota just blew up last year, I can see the Minnesota Chicago quandary. But I am going to go with Minnesota because I think they will be. I'm not going to say much improved, but I think they will be improved this year. Weren't they like a victim of just like they started off like against like the top teams, and then it just snowballed from there?
Yeah, they were like 1-5 out of the gate.
Yeah. And then it just kind of they couldn't recover. They did a good, in the middle there they had kind of a little bit of a winning streak, but I couldn't get over that. So I think they won't fall into that again, and I think they'll be improved. And be in second. Chicago, I want to say I want to fork them right now. No,
just put a fork in the Bears.
No, I don't understand that. It's like you said, we've seen why are they going with Dalton? Again, I'm very confused. The only thing I can think of, and that probably giving the coaching staff too much credit, is their offensive line is not good. I don't know how, even if they like concentrate on a game plan of like run first, I don't know how they're going to do that with that offensive line. I don't think they addressed enough there, and it's just going to kill them this year. I'm going to put them in third, and at some point, I hope they put Fields in there, please.
Yeah,
just to make him watchable.
Fields can alleviate that offensive line problem because he can get out of the pocket. Andy Dalton's a sitting duck back there,
which is another reason.
Chances are Andy Dalton's going to get his legs broken in week 3, and that'll be that for him. But, and I was going to say with, the coaching staff looking at Andy Dalton, like we saw him struggle with the Cowboys, who have a much better offense.
Yep.
They have an amazingly potent offense. And now you're putting on Chicago, who has a pretty bland vanilla offense, right? I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, this could be it for Matt Nagy.
The kid, I don't know, but not really helping their team. I don't know.
No, and I'm always that guy that like if you don't think you have a shot, just play the kid and let him get
Right.
experience.
Yeah. Yep.
And Matt Nagy will figure that out too late. He'll figure it out week 5, week 6, make the switch, and they're already like 2-4, and you know what I
Already
mean.
fourth.
I think this will be it for him. He'll probably lose his job this year. He's
Yeah.
not
On
that
top of
good a
that,
coach.
I want to point out that the Chicago, who I know in recent years is great defense, it's losing its potency little by little. They keep losing some of the pieces there. So don't. I hope he doesn't. Rely on that defense to keep him in all the games like that, like he did in the past.
Oh, and he will. I mean, let's face it. NFL stands for not for long. These careers are not long. I mean, every year it's like dog years with NFL players. Like they could go, 1 year they look really good, and then they lose a step, and it's over for them a year later. So they still have Khalil Mack. They still have good linebacker. I mean, their defense is good, but and I like watching the Bears. Because again, running in defense, right? It's my thing. But
Right.
yeah, I think they're undercoached. That's their biggest flaw. So why don't you start us off with the NFC South?
I mean,
There's only one that matters now.
I mean, Tampa Bay, after their Super Bowl run, they actually bring back everybody, literally, and still draft probably a couple good pieces. So I don't know how it would take like the major injury bug to make them step down. So they got first place. Yeah, I don't even think if I don't know who their backup is, but even if Brady didn't play the whole season, I still think they'd come in first because their defense is so solid. They have all these weapons on their offense. Their offensive line is great. You got to pick them to come in first. I know. Then we got to shuffle around the other three teams. Um, I'm going to pick Carolina to come in second. I think Rule's a good coach. Hopefully, Christian McCaffrey, back and healthy. They have some really nice weapons on offense. Good defense as well. And the only question mark we have is the quarterback. Not sure why they went that route. So we'll have to see how that goes. But because of the coaching staff and their defense, mostly, I'll pick them to go in second. Third would be New Orleans. I know the big quarterback change for them, but they still have Sean Payton. They still have Sean Payton as a coach. I think they'll keep him competitive for at least part of the year. They picked not Bridgewater. It was
Winston.
Winston. Sorry, I keep getting those two mixed up. Winston. So I think that was and actually a good decision to have him as the quarterback for them. And finally, Atlanta. I mean, I think they'll be at least slightly improved from last year. Their defense has got to be a little bit better, and they still have Ryan, but they did lose Julio Jones, so I don't think they're going to get much better than fourth place.
I have the exact same order as you, and for a lot of the same reasons. Tampa Bay. Not only did they bring the entire team back from the Super Bowl, where they just, down the stretch, they just looked unbeatable.
Yeah.
In that defense, Devin White is a beast, and he's only going to get better.
Yeah.
They have the 29th easiest schedule in the league.
How did that happen?
They are playing teams with a winning percentage of .465.
That just goes to the NFC having so many bad teams, and they probably had the luck of picking their out of conference as probably maybe the worst division.
Right, probably. And without looking at their schedule, I bet they're playing the AFC South. So, yeah, you could see Tampa Bay going like 15-2 this year, something like that, with a schedule, an easy schedule. Tom Brady clearly is comfortable in that offense now. We saw his interceptions go way down at the end of the year, except in the playoff game against Green Bay where he threw 3 in a row.
Yeah.
And, so all that said, yeah, watch out for the Bucs. I think they're a buzzsaw just getting started. I got Carolina second as well. And I actually think Sam Darnold works for that system. I think Sam's a good quarterback who I think lost all of his much like they ruined Mark Sanchez in New York. Mark Sanchez comes to the Jets, gets him to the championship game his first 2 years in the league. And then by the end of his career in New York, he's running into his offensive lineman, falling down and fumbling. It was like a clown show. And then Sam Darnold almost felt the same way. I mean, there's that famous clip of him last year sitting there going, I'm seeing ghosts, with his eyes plugging out of his head. Sam's a good quarterback, and you don't go third overall without raw talent. So I think you're right. They have great coaching down there. Even last year, they were in so many games. They lost them right at the end just because they're inexperienced. They're a young team. They get McCaffrey back. They're going to be good to go. I got Carolina.
I remember when they went to Kansas City, and Kansas City struggled to win, and they didn't have Carolina didn't have McCaffrey there.
Right. They didn't have him almost all year last year, and they were scrappy. I have the Saints third because of the quarterback situation specifically. I mean, they still have Thomas and all these great players, but the fact that they went into camp thinking that Taysom Hill was the answer, and then figuring out that he wasn't. Jameis Winston is really talented, but until we see his interception problem go away, I think we got to assume he's still going to have his interception problem. So he'll throw 30 touchdowns and 30 picks. So, I see the Saints taking a huge step backward, although now they have the hurricane motivation again. And last time they had the hurricane motivation,
they did really great.
They came out like shot out of a cannon at the beginning of the year. The vagabond team with no home for a while, right?
That I think a big part of that was Drew Brees' leadership. I don't know if that's going to be the
correct.
same as this, but yeah,
correct. And Drew Brees is a Hall of Fame quarterback, which also on the field helps too, right? Versus Jameis Winston, who again mega talented but super undisciplined right now. And last is the Falcons. Why they even keep Matt Ryan around? Just do the guy a favor, get him out of town. You're clearly starting over again there.
Yeah.
Julio's gone. And don't be surprised if Matt Ryan ends up on the Washington football team, maybe at trade deadline.
Well, that's very intriguing, and it would be that kind of like the perfect thing.
That would be a perfect match, right? And he'd finally have a shot. I mean, he had the Super Bowl a couple years ago where he, we won't go there, but but give him a chance to compete. His career's winding down. Give him a chance to go out on top instead of struggling with Atlanta, who's probably 3 years from being competitive again. 2 to 3 years, probably. I mean, you could turn it around quick in the NFL.
Yeah, they did get that tight end.
Yeah, but they don't have much of a running game anymore. Yeah. They're a mess. Their defense was awful last year. Their secondary is abysmal. They're clearly a last place team.
Yeah, they didn't really help that defense.
No. It's funny how in both conferences the South Division is the pootser, right? So, NFC West, I'll kick that one off. This one is tough. It's tough once you get past the Rams. I think the Rams knew perfect job by their general manager addressing their sole weakness. Actually, they had a partial. Well, Cam Akers went down, so he had to address the running game too, and got Sony Michel. Good move. Because they still have Henderson. Now they have Henderson and Michel. They're going to have to do running back by committee. But it's worked for them in the past. With that defense, those receivers, they were clearly lacking a veteran quarterback who won't panic under pressure in a big spot like Goff does. And they got him. Matthew Stafford. I mean, this might be Matthew Stafford's fine. He might be rewarded for years of getting his ass beaten in Detroit. Just getting pummeled left and right. So I think I got the Rams taking that division. I think the Rams and Tampa Bay are the two best teams in the whole conference. But then I have the 49ers next because I think the 49ers, everyone forgets how injury-plagued they were last year.
Yeah.
They're going to have everybody back. They lost Mostert. They lost Bosa. They lost they have 11 or 12 starters out.
We brought it up every single time we had a show.
They were the walking wounded. And like every week they lost another great player, it seemed like. It was just constant that they're a really good team. They were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. To me, though, their weakness is quarterback right now. It's Garoppolo and an unproven Trey Lance. So, but I think they're going to rebound. They're going to be really, really good team. I got 49ers there. Then I have the Cardinals. The Cardinals also, they very talented team, really good defense. I don't know what happened last year. They just collapsed at the end of the year, and I don't know if that was Murray's lack of experience down the stretch. Something happened. He didn't even look right. Maybe he was playing hurt. I
Well,
think
I
I think
know
he had a
that
shoulder
injury. It
problem,
was,
right? Yeah.
once he
So
hit that injury that he couldn't play. He
it was
wasn't
on that
playing
when he
this
threw that Hail Mary bomb and he got clobbered out of bounds. He hurt his shoulder, right? I think the Cardinals, aside from the lack of running game, which he can make up for on his own, they're really solid and they're well coached. So I got the Cardinals third, and I have Seattle taking a huge step back. And I love Russell Wilson, and I like the Seahawks, but they've been losing important pieces of that team every year. Like it's like vultures picking at a carcass. They're just taking a little piece of it every year, and there's only so much the one guy can do. I mean, he'll have Chris Carson back in the backfield and stuff, but they just don't. They don't seem as tough as they used to. They get pushed around a lot, and they kind of leave it on his shoulders, much like Green Bay does with Aaron Rodgers, to win the game all the time for him. So I see it's a very tight division.
Yep.
Like Seattle coming in fourth is not like by 4 to 6 games. It's like by 1.
Like,
right?
yeah,
But
I agree.
that's the order I put them in.
Okay, I'm gonna make this a little bit interesting because I agree with you. Well, I don't know if you said it, but to me, this is the toughest division to figure out because last year all 4 teams were competing for a playoff spot all the way till like I don't know week 13 or 14.
Yep.
I'm gonna pick San Francisco to come in first.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
A lot of things you've said with everybody injured. I think they were the most injured team last year and still competed in most games. I know that there's like a big question mark at quarterback, and at some point they might just switch around, which is not a great sign for a team where you're kind of like switching quarterbacks in midseason. But everywhere else, it's like I've looked at this team up and down. Their defense is really good. Their secondary is good. Their defensive line, receivers, tight end, offensive line. So I know it's a little bit of maybe a stretch, but
No. You know what? And you just gave me a thought about them too. Is because they basically had to play the B squad last year. They have more depth now because those guys all got big game experience.
Yeah, and they did pretty well filling in. Like I said, they were pretty competitive for most of the year.
Yeah.
And definitely Rams second for all the reasons you said. They're solid everywhere, and they address their most pressing need in quarterback. Hopefully Stafford will, just be in that, get right into that system pretty fast, and be comfortable, and not get injured. Basically, that's the one thing that he can't happen. Yeah, and I agree with you. Arizona, I know they kind of faded away last year, but third place. They have a lot of weapons. Kyler Murray, they have Hopkins, AJ Green. You're right about the running game, a little bit weak, but Murray can make up for some of that. They also have a pretty good defense, although they didn't play like it towards the end of the last year. So hopefully they'll make a comeback. And it's weird that we're saying something like Seattle coming in last place when something weird could happen in the season where they could come in first place.
Right.
Could just flip around. It's just the way the NFL is, which it makes it so much interesting. But I agree with you. They keep trying to use smoke and mirrors to cover up all the pieces that they lose, and of course Russell Wilson's the mainstay there. But like you said, he can't do everything. And the way the last season unfolded told you that. Like, everything was hitting all cylinders. He was the MVP of the year. And then something happened and, the rest of the team kind of like faltered and he had a rough time.
And he went down with it, yeah.
Yeah, he went down with it. So, but again, this division, you could just kind of just throw 4 dice and shuffle around and happen anyway.
You're right, because it's going to take injuries and things like that, suspensions and stuff that'll affect the outcome. But all things being equal on paper today, this is what we're looking at. And
I don't know if COVID's going to be a factor in this as well.
Let's hope not.
I hope not either. But
yeah, they got it through a whole season last year. So, although I know the league says they don't want to move games around this year, they're not going to do it, but. They what they say and what they end up doing when push comes to shove. Oh, I'm sorry, Mike, rubbing my fingers together. I didn't mean to do that. But you're right. Seattle's just they just they look like one of those guys like Alan Faneca is a perfect example, right? Alan Faneca was this giant offensive lineman, Hall of Fame guy, and decided to become a long distance runner in his retirement. And now he's like half the size he used to be.
Yeah.
That's what the Seahawks look like. They look like a guy who decided to go from a bulked up, weightlifter to a long distance runner. They're just getting leaner and leaner and leaner.
Yep.
So, in Arizona, don't forget, they still have one of the most clutch guys of all time to go to in a big spot, and that's Larry Fitz. Back for, 17th season now?
He definitely is back. Why did I think that something?
Well, he did say he's losing interest in the game.
Okay.
But
wow.
He's got so much integrity, he's not going to quit. He'll quit in the offseason. He's not going to quit now. Larry Fitzgerald might be one of the all-time class acts. Who does not love that guy?
I know.
How could you, although for a short time, a very short time, I hated his guts. And that was the last 3 minutes of Super Bowl 43 when he went straight down the middle of the field and put the Cardinals ahead with 2 minutes to go. Yeah. And I was like, I hate you, Larry Fitzgerald.
That changed pretty quick, though.
It changed pretty quick. Thank you, Ben Roethlisberger and Santonio Holmes. So anyway, why don't we go over to the AFC, which is, how the NFC West is like a log jam? Most of this conference is a log jam.
The whole conference.
Trying to figure out playoff teams, and I'm glad we're not going to pick those today.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. What a nightmare. So why don't you kick us off with the East? Because your team's in that division.
Yep. I'll pick the Bills to come in first. They hit it on all cylinders last year. They were like an elite team. And I didn't see any kind of like loss for them. They still have Josh Allen, who was, MVP candidate. Both lines are great. Their defense is definitely improved over the course of last year, and they have great offensive weapons. I got to pick them first. Second, I know people may not think so, but I'm going to go with New England here. I think they're going to be really improved this year. It was quite obviously that Belichick was like really mad about last year. He might not show it outwardly, but he really hated losing. And I'm just stating the obvious of it, but he really hated losing, and it showed like as soon as free agents started, like they made 20 or 20 moves right off the bat, getting so many pieces, especially on that defense. He really didn't like the way the defense played. They have we talked about, they have their quarterback that he wants now, and I think they're going to be very improved. I'm going to pick them to come in second, which means, unfortunately, I'm picking my team to come in third, the Dolphins, which it may switch around. The Patriots and the Dolphins may switch depending on how things goes, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins came in second, but I'm going to go with them in third. Tua it's definitely his team now. There's no where you're going to be rescued by Fitz or anything like that. And I think he'll step up to it. I think he will be very good this year. They have nice weapons. Their defense is really good. And of course the Jets, I think, will also be improved from how could you not be improved from last year? But I think what I mean by that, I think they will be kind of fun to watch. I think they'll be a little bit more dynamic. They have the new quarterback, and it's going to be basically all new for them, a new offensive scheme. I love that their coaching, their coaching pick was great. I think he'll do great there. But I think they're still a couple years from really being competitive, but they'll be much improved though.
I have pretty much the same order. The Bills, you're right, look like an elite team. And I actually, if people remember or can go back and watch, I picked them to beat the Chiefs in the championship game. Because the Bills that were just eating people alive all season didn't show up in the first two playoff games, and I was like, they're going to show up in the third one. Because they were just smoking people, and never happened. I think their inexperience caught up to them.
Right.
At that point. But now they've run the gauntlet. They understand what it takes to get to that next level, and I think this is the year they have to do it. Like you said, they've pretty much returned the team. McDermott's a great coach. And the window will close fast in this league, especially in that conference. So I think if they don't do it this year, they're going to start taking steps backward. So I think, I mean, they'll always have Allen, as long as they keep Allen, they'll always be really good.
Right.
But they're going to start to, lose pieces. The salary cap just dictates that, right? So, I got Buffalo first. And what helps them, too, is that they have the 23rd strength of schedule. So they're playing sub-500 teams most of the year, so that'll really help. They can win 13 or 14 probably. Patriots, I'm with you. You ever wish that you could be somewhere that you'd never be? I wanted to be sitting with Bill Belichick the minute Tom Brady held up the trophy, and just to be sitting there with him as he was like, he called Bob Kraft and he said, "No, we're gonna do this my way." They had to be seething watching Brady and Gronkowski win another title, right?
Yeah.
While they were, awful.
Awful.
You're right. I mean, they went nuts in free agency, getting Kyle Van Noy back, and don't forget he also had 9 guys opt out last year for COVID. They just decided not to play.
Yeah.
Like Hightower was one of them, and he's one of their best players. So, he was behind the 8 ball from the beginning, and you're right. Cam Newton just didn't fit his system at all. So, I got Patriots second, and they have the 19th strength of schedule. So, it's going to help them too that they have kind of a weak schedule this year. Actually, the Dolphins do too. So,
okay.
Yeah, that whole division's got kind of an easy ride.
Okay.
The Jets do too. The Jets and the Patriots are tied for 19th strength of schedule.
Wow.
Okay. We've got the Dolphins have the 27th strength of schedule and the Bills 23rd. So the AFC East is going to have a couple portions of their schedule where they, as long as they take care of business, but there's always that chance you show up with the win in your head before you even take the field, and then you get ambushed.
And then
right. So there you go. Patriots 2, Dolphins 3. All the same reasons. We got to see Tua play a full season. You're right. He won't be looking over his shoulder this year, which will help for sure. I love the coach. I love the Dolphins coach. Brian Flores is awesome. He's a great coach, but unfortunately, he's looking up at the best one ever.
Yeah.
And another great one in McDermott. So, and now the Jets got a really good coach too, Robert Saleh. So that whole division's full of good coaches. And Saleh's going to turn the Jets around for sure. But they're still the Jets. Until they prove otherwise, they're the Jets. Maybe 6 wins, 7.
Hey, 6 or 7 wins would be a big step forward.
They did bring in some help on wide receiver and stuff like that. So, I mean, their offensive line's much, much improved. And they got some pass rushers. They got Shaq Lawson this week. So, you never know. But that division's greatly, much like the NFC East, that division's back on the rise, where it used to be like New England and everybody else. Now it's getting more competitive, so we'll see. But I think the Jets are at least a year away from being actual competitors. So I guess I'll take the next one, the North, which is my division.
Right.
I sat there last winter, in that divisional round, watching the Cleveland Browns hang with the Chiefs. A week after the Cleveland Browns came to Pittsburgh and absolutely embarrassed the Steelers. And I made up my mind at that point that I had to stop making fun of Baker Mayfield.
Yep.
And that the Cleveland Browns are for real. And I think this is the year the Cleveland Browns are going to win the division, and they're going to make a lot of noise. I think they're an actual Super Bowl contender. So I'm going Browns on top. Once Baker Mayfield solved his interception problem halfway through the year last year, I think, what did he throw, 1 in the whole second half?
Yeah. It was,
The only downside I see is, and I said this a lot last year, was he was, I think, blessed by addition by subtraction when OBJ went down. Right? It took a couple weeks, but once he realized he didn't have to force throws to that loudmouth, whiny brat, he could actually play football and run the team. Remember that crazy Monday night game he had with the Ravens?
Yeah.
That was awesome, right? I mean,
that was a great game.
You could see, at that point, it was Baker's offense. It was Baker's team. Earlier in the year, it looked like he couldn't make up his mind because he had that idiot screaming in his ear all the time. That idiot's coming back. I think they need to get rid of him. I think he's a locker room cancer, and if they don't, as long as they keep OBJ around, that's the one thing that could derail that team. I think offensively. Second, Ravens, and I know they lost Dobbins this week for the season, but
Right.
but they have 4 guys, 5 guys. They got a million guys that can run the ball on that team. The only downside now on their offense, and this could get Lamar killed, is that their left tackle has been swapped out, and
That's right.
it's Big Al Villanueva, who came from Pittsburgh, who last year was a swinging rusty screen door. And apparently he's looked awful. I haven't watched any of their preseason, but he looked awful. And that's Lamar's blind side. So it might also, even if he doesn't get hurt, it might alter the trajectory of their offense where he's going to have to roll out to the right side to avoid getting creamed from the blind side, which will make him very predictable, and he'll start running into double teams and stuff like that.
Yep.
But I still think they're a really good team, and I got them second. Third, I have the Steelers, who I think will have their first losing season under Mike Tomlin.
Oh, wow.
They've lost too much. They've brought in too many wild card veterans to try to fill holes. Their offensive line is completely brand new. You got 5 guys who've never played with each other playing, and that's just a recipe for disaster. And you got a quarterback who's 39 years old. Yeah, Steelers are going to take a big step backward. They were a fraud last year anyway. And last, Cincinnati. Although much better, Joe Burrow's awesome. Probably the best quarterback in the division. They're much like the Jets. I think they'll win 6 or 7 games, but they've got a lot of work to do to get to the next level. So that's my order.
Yeah, I have the same order. Cleveland first, and I'll point to their awesome running game to keep them going. And you said it, Mayfield last year overcame all his turnover issues. I do worry, like you, with Beckham coming back. Hopefully, Mayfield will have gotten such self-confidence in that second half of the season that he won't let Beckham, ruin this. But you're right. While he's there, while Beckham's there, there's still it's like a wild card to make them fail.
Yeah.
But Cleveland's ready. Right. Their defense is better and their running game is awesome. Again, second, Baltimore. Lamar Jackson and all their other weapons. I do worry about their offensive line a little bit. But as long as Lamar stays upright, I think they'll come in second. Third, Pittsburgh. They were able to keep their wide receivers though, right?
Yeah.
So that is one plus. But is Roethlisberger gonna, get the ball to them? He's got to get the ball downfield more instead of all the short passing all the time. I think
they added Najee Harris in the backfield too, but with that offensive line. True. And they also have the toughest schedule this year. Steelers have the toughest schedule in the league.
Okay, that's bad.
Yeah.
And of course, Cincinnati. I just like I said with the Jets. I think they'll be improved in Burrow's second year as long as he stays, injury free. I think they'll be much improved. But they're a team that has to prove themselves too to be believed in as better than fourth place.
Yeah. All right. Well, we had that basically the same. It's funny actually. The Steelers and the Ravens have the 1-2 toughest schedule.
Wow. Jeez.
Yeah. Now, the last time the Steelers had the toughest schedule in the league, they went to the playoffs and won the Super Bowl in 2008. But that was a much different team. And don't forget, the Steelers still don't have T.J. Watt on the team.
Right. That's true.
He doesn't have a contract yet, and we're 3 days from.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's not good.
I think they were a big victim of the salary cap thing.
They were. And then next year they're going to have a ton of cap room, so they'll be able to fix a lot of what goes wrong this year. But this is the year they're going to pay the you got to pay the piper for for kicking the can down the road a little bit. So that's what happens when you go all in and then you don't pull it off, right?
Yep.
So why don't you take the South?
So Tennessee, I think will be first. I know they kind of faltered towards the end of last year, but they still have Henry. They still have that running game, that crushing running game. They still have a good offensive line. Tannehill's good for that system. They picked up Julio Jones, which is going to make him even better. their defense really needs to improve. But I think in that division, they're good enough for first place. Then the rest of the teams kind of like got to shuffle. Well, shouldn't say shuffle because I think the Colts are a good team, and um, I was kind of going back and forth between the Colts and Tennessee because they're so close. But I just don't know anything about that quarterback situation with the Colts. Wentz has got to prove that he can do something, and even now I don't. And, he has issues. I'm not even sure if he's starting the season. Um, has he been named? I thought he was out for at least the first game, maybe. But either way, whether it's him or I think their backup is Eason, we got to see something from that quarterback position. They have a great defense. That defense from last year, I kept bringing it up, was awesome, which will keep them in games. But I got to see something from the quarterback first before. So they'll be second. Jacksonville, I'll have to pick third because Houston's such a mess. But Jacksonville has a lot of holes to fill too. Maybe they'll be improved. I mean, we have to see what we get out of Trevor Lawrence. But otherwise, they're weak in a lot of places as well, as we saw from last year. And of course, Houston is like, I don't even know how you can start even rebuilding them with the situation with Watson. He's probably not going to get to play this year, maybe. And if he doesn't, where are they going to go from here? They have a huge problem on defense we saw last year, and without their offense running, I don't know how many games they're going to win.
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed it. The Titans, they do have the defensive problems we saw last year where they can't get off on third down. They really didn't do much to fix that. But you're right. I mean, overall, they're top to bottom the most solid team in the division, and Mike Vrabel's really a good coach.
I'll take the layup. I'll take Dak Prescott and how he's going to come back.
What was that?
Wow, I didn't touch.
That was me.
Oh, I was like, he has a surprise guest.
I was like, who's talking? Sorry, I was looking something up real quick.
Okay.
But yeah, Vrabel's the perfect coach for that team.
Yeah.
He's always gotten more out of less on that team. I remember when they went up to New England and picked off the Patriots a couple years ago when he was like a rookie head coach and he beat Bill Belichick, and I was like, there's something here to this guy, you know? Second, I got the Colts, and I'm with you on this Carson Wentz thing. In fact, I don't know if he's playing or not. Like, it goes back and forth. But the fact that he got hurt right away again,
right?
Like, I know he's back with Frank Reich, and I like Frank Reich. He's a great coach. But this guy, I'm sorry, and it might be an unpopular opinion. I got friends that yell at me for saying this. I'm like, the guy's a chucker. Carson Wentz is a chucker. When will they figure out that he's nothing more than a decent backup? And it's not his talent. It's this, and he's fragile.
Yeah.
I've never been impressed with the guy. Never. I'm sorry. They won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. They don't.
Right.
Carson Wentz. I don't. Everybody just lauds the guy, and I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it. Third, Jacksonville. Yeah, I just think they're going to play a lot of college football. They're going to go crazy and have fun and play college football and see what happens, right? Fourth, Houston. I don't want to be accusatory or anything, but it's almost like they're tanking for the first. I mean, they won 4 games with Deshaun Watson last year. They don't have J.J. Watt now. Like, they emptied. They got rid of everybody who's any good. He's not going to play, Watson. He's done. And they're going with Tyrod Taylor. I mean, if they won 4 games with Watson, how many are they going to win without him?
I may have to revise what I said about Detroit being the
I think this is the number 1 pick. Detroit might be the number 2 pick. It might be that Jets-Jacksonville thing last year. Remember, they were both. It was like, who's going to get this number 1 pick? And
Yep.
it might be that way with Detroit and Houston, but I think Detroit will probably win 4 or 5. To be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah,
they might.
Who knows?
And,
they got
and I'll say this: if I agree with everything you said about Wentz, but if by some miracle Reich straightens him out, they have a chance to get ahead of Tennessee.
Yeah, they do. They do, because Tennessee's defense is their biggest liability. Yep. Most notably, their secondary. I mean, they just can't get off on third down. They're linebackers too. They just don't have a whole lot of in the middle of the They just can't. It's always like 3rd and like 7 or 8 that they can't defend either. It's not like 3rd and 2. It's brutal. So I'm with you on that. Yeah. So Jags 3rd and Houston 4th. So that brings us to the West, which is another tough division.
Really a tough division. That's like both Wests are tough.
Yep. Now, obviously, Chiefs first until proven otherwise. They've still got their core. They've lost some components, but they've still got their core. And as long as they got Patrick Mahomes, who can throw the ball while he's laying sideways in the air and hit a guy in the face with it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that throw when he was like parallel to the ground and threw it. And how could you not be ready to catch it?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Right through the guy's hands and hits him in the face. But I mean, it was a perfect throw. He could throw it upside down. I mean, it's on his head, he'll throw a touchdown.
Yeah.
As long as you got Mahomes, you got a chance to be an elite team. And Tyreek Hill, of course, who's got world-class cheetah speed. And until people can run with him, and you're not going to find anybody unless Darryl Green can get in a time machine. That's not going to happen. So them first, Chargers second. Chargers are ready. And the Chargers were ready last year. Remember how many games they blew at the end because of the time management and horrible coaching. I liked Anthony Lynn, but my God, I mean, some of the choices he made down the stretch of every game. I think they lost like 7 games in the last 2 minutes or something like that.
Yep.
And Herbert is just amazing. Herbert could be an MVP this year if he plays like he did last year, which I expect him to and maybe be better. So I got the Chargers 2. That team's loaded. I got Denver 3rd. And I know before you go, whoa, wait, they don't have a quarterback.
They do.
They have Teddy Bridgewater, who, for whatever reason, I like Teddy Bridgewater, but he doesn't seem to ever be given a fair shot. And when he gets in, he performs. That's what I don't get. It's not like when he gets in, he's not good. He performs when he gets in there.
Yeah.
It's just he's become a journeyman, and a lot of it's because of his injury issues. And then they have Drew Lock, but somehow Denver always limps to 6 or 7 wins, even with no good quarterbacks. And Von Miller's going to be back, and that defense was always good. And I think Denver, they've got a really exciting young group of wide receivers. They've got a couple of good running backs. You got Lindsey, and didn't they pick somebody else up too?
On running back?
I don't remember. But anyway, they're much like Washington again, or the Bears. They've got the team there. They're just lacking at the big position, which is quarterback. So we'll see if Bridgewater might be able to win them 9 games this year if he stays healthy. And then I got the Raiders taking a huge step backward. I think the Raiders will come in last. But again, this is a last where they're like
a couple of games out.
Yeah, they got 9, 10 wins maybe. I see that whole division just being really competitive and tight, and much like the NFC West. It's weird how the divisions kind of parallel. They parallel each other, except for the Norths.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I agree mostly with pretty much everything. I mean, the Chiefs, you gotta, with Mahomes there and all their weapons, you gotta you gotta see it. Someone take them down before you don't pick them as first. And their defense is actually getting better.
Yeah.
So that even helps them even more. So definitely Chiefs first. I wish I could take. I know you're gonna be like shocked, but I wish I could take the Chargers in Denver as tied for second, because I actually think Denver has one, other than the Rams, probably has the top defense in the NFL. And then they went and picked up Surtain, which was like the highest regarded defensive guy. On top of that, they already had a good defense on top, so they'll keep him in a lot of games, helping out their weakness, of course. Well, we don't know if it's a weakness, but quarterback. It's not a great quarterback, but he can manage the game. He can manage that offense so that they don't. If he can just cut down on the offense's mistakes, that defense will keep him in most games.
And just convert some third downs. They always had a problem converting third downs.
If that's true. Yeah, but I'll still mostly because I like the way the Chargers played. I'll still keep them at second and Denver at third, like you did. Well, I think it's very close between those two teams, and I wouldn't be surprised if for some reason it flipped on us. Herbert's second year. I can't wait to. It's going to be so fun to watch. You're right. He could be an MVP candidate the way he plays. I just hope they have enough around them. Hopefully, the offensive line won't break down, and that the defense will just be just a little bit of improvement. It will help them a lot win those games that they should have won last year. And the Raiders I think will take a step back. Didn't seem like they did anything big to make them better. Remember what a fall it was from what was the middle of the season when did they beat the Chiefs, or they came close?
They beat the Chiefs the first time they played them. They almost beat them the second time. Yeah.
And at that point, we're like, the Raiders are on their way, and then something just happened.
I think weren't they like 7-2 or something at one point?
Yeah. Then they started losing to teams they had no business losing to, and I was like, forget it.
Yeah, I think they ended up like 8-8, right, or 9-7, something like that. Yeah.
It was almost like that was their Super Bowl and their season ended.
Yep.
So there's like, we don't have to show up to any other games.
Yeah, it's almost like that's the one they pinned it on the board in the locker room. They circled the Chiefs, right, and that's all they seem to care about.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, we're pretty similar on all of them. Now, I know we didn't want to pick the postseason, but on our way out the door here, let's just throw it out there. Super Bowl. Who's raising the Lombardi this year?
Wow.
As of today, September 5th. Of course, this doesn't take into account for injuries or anything like that. So.
Yeah, you're right. I hate to be like going to the safe pick. I'm trying to figure out how to
I know what you're going to say.
Well, I'll say Chiefs in San Francisco will go to the Super Bowl.
Wow. Okay.
I know. I tried to make at least one that wasn't like so obvious, and and the Chiefs will probably win. So I'll pick them again to win this one, even though they didn't win last year.
Okay. Wow. I have a rematch.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Tampa Bay and the Chiefs.
Same thing.
Same thing.
Well, at least in your mind, will it at least be a better game?
Yes, because hopefully Mahomes has his offensive line this time.
That's right. We made a big deal. Actually, we didn't make enough of a big deal. We mentioned it, but we were like, no, Kansas City will win no matter what. But that offensive line was the big thing.
That was the problem because Mahomes was running for his life. And the fact that he played as well as he did, it looked like a Fran Tarkenton game,
Yep.
So, if his offensive line's intact when they get to the Super Bowl, there's a chance they could win it this time. They probably should win it this time.
Yeah, they should.
But sadly, because of Tampa Bay's schedule, because they brought the whole team back, because they were firing on all cylinders at the end, and because, and I hate to say it because I was in denial for the longest time, they're the best quarterback of all time. Until they get dethroned, I got to go with them. So we'll see. But that's why it's the NFL, and that's why it's fun, because you can't predict it.
That's why, like with the NFL, that's why I'm like saying, like, with the NFL, it's always like something goes wrong. They throw a curveball, and that's why I'm thinking will happen. I'm not saying Tampa Bay is going to be horrible. I just think something will happen that they won't pick them.
Well, it's the ultimate team game, and that's why so many things can go wrong. You need all 53 guys to perform perfectly every week.
Yep.
So, and when that doesn't happen, that's when things go sideways. Otherwise, we'd all be geniuses, and we'd right.
There's be no point in betting.
So again, we want to know what you guys think. So drop us a line in the comments below, or at GeektimeNet on the socials. Send us a message or send your picks. And that'll be fun. We can check at the end of the season and see who is the smartest of all.
Yep.
And our plan here, Edson, is to do this, do a recap and a pick show every week of the season, like we did last year.
Yep. We'll just go recap the games real quick and then pick the next week's games.
Pick the next week's games, and we'll do our running tally again. I think you beat me by one game last year, right?
Which was like only a half season, so
right.
I'll have to come up with an appropriate trophy to keep at a person's house whenever they win it.
I'm ready this year.
and show it off like, I still have it.
Exactly.
You have to come up with some kind of good trophy.
All right, so that's it for us on Labor Day here. So we'll be back with actually, we're going to do our Week 1 picks today.
Yep.
So we'll record that one next, but please hit the like button if so inclined. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We thank everyone for watching and giving us the watch hours required for the channel to be monetized. But why don't you hit the little subscribe? Because nobody's doing that.
That'd be really great.
It would be really great. And, of course, you can contact us on the socials and whatnot. And we'll catch you guys Week 2. After, we'll do our prediction show first. But
Yep.
then Week 2. All right. Hasta la pasta. Stay safe, and we will see you guys next time.
Next week? Yeah. No. Next time.
Next time.
Be nice.
If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up below. Also, please subscribe to GeekTime TV. It really helps us grow the channel. And make sure you hit that bell icon in order to receive notifications every time we drop new content here. You can also check us out on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at geektimenet. Thanks again for watching. We will see you soon.
Say, kids, what time is that?